Welcome back. This lesson is about chords. We start with a root note, which is at the bottom like a root. And if it is on the line, then it's going to go line, line, line. If it's on a space, it's going to go space, space, space. Again, we are starting on middle C, so it's going to be C, E, G, which is on a line. So it's going to go line, line, line. C, E, G. Counting from 1, C would be 1, D would be 2, E would be 3. These are called intervals of a third, and there are only two kinds. I'm going to divide these into two. The bottom half and the top half. Okay, the bottom half is C, D, E, which, if you remember your scale, that's two whole steps. C, D, E. Two whole steps. The top half, E, the F, remember that E to F thing, E, F, G, so this is going to be a step and a half. Now you want to remember, you might want to write this down. An interval of a third with two whole steps is called a major third. Major third, an interval of a third of a step and a half is called a minor third. Yes, Virginia, that's the difference between major and minor. For your analytical minds, between 1, 3, and 5, between 1 and 5, there are 3.5 steps. In the middle, it's 2 whole steps or a step and a half, major or minor. Put together, a chord is called by the root note and the bottom third. So this is a C major chord. It does have to have the opposite third on the top. Now we already have C major. We know this is C major. We already know that the top of this is minor. Let's see if the top of this, what's the top of this? We went up another line. Well, G to B, G, A, B. There's no E, F, or B, and C in there, so that has to be 2 whole steps. So this is a chord with a minor third on the bottom and a major third on the top, and that's called a minor chord. Here's the formula. Major chord, major third on the bottom, minor on the top. Minor, I'll spell it minor, is a small m on the bottom and a big M on the top. Not so difficult, is it? Major chord, minor chord. Now, you want to review over this because next thing I'm going to do, I don't want to lose you. We're going to take the natural scale again, but put it into chords. Okay, we know this is a major chord. We know this is a minor chord. Let's check the rest of them. D to F. D, E to E, F. So that's going to be a step and a half on the bottom. Now F to A, F, G, A. Well, that's 2 whole steps on the top. So this is a minor chord also. How about F? Well, we just did F to A. We know that's a major third on the bottom. So A, B to C, up, B to C. That's that half step. So this is a major third on the bottom, minor third on the top. This is a major chord. How about G? Well, now we already did G here, so we know this is a major third. How about the top here? B to C, ah ha ha, there's your half step again, so that's a step and a half on the top. So that makes this a major chord. Now A, C, well this, remember the major? F major had a minor on the top, so this is going to be the minor on the bottom here. And C, D, E, that's a major on the top, so this is a minor also. Now the last one, B, D to F. Okay, B to D, B to C, that's that half step. They're going to say minor. Let's check it out. D, E to F, so this is also a minor. There's a chord here with two minor thirds. Chord with two minor thirds. Well, you've gone into a place where there's a knob and you press it on and the light goes on, and then you turn the knob and it gets less electricity, so it gets less light. It dims. Well, let's call this a dim. It dims it, it makes it less. It's called a diminish chord.
Wait a minute. I have been paying attention. If there can be a chord of two minor thirds, then there must be a chord of two major thirds.
You're right. There is a chord of two major thirds. Now, when you make something larger, you augment it. You can make your own joke there. For here, a chord with two major thirds is called an augmented chord. But as you can see in our natural scale of things, there is no augmented chord. You would have to take a major chord and raise the top by a half step to make it an augmented chord. So you have major, you have minor, you have diminish, and you have augmented. Major, minor, diminished, augmented. 4 chords. That's it. There's no other chords. There's 4 chords. Major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Now go over this again so you have it in your head, because the next part might be a little trickier. Okay, now we're going to look at the order of these chords, major and minor. We end up with 3 major chords, 3 minor chords. Now you can't quite tell here, can you? 3 major chords. I'll make these big M's. And they correspond to the 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. Well, the chord itself is called by numbers. 1, 3, 5, like we were just talking about. So to call these by numbers wouldn't make much sense. These have names. The chords in the order have names. The first one is called tonic. Well, what's tonic? Tonic, gin and tonic. Hey, how about that? You can remember that. Tonic. Gin and tonic. That's the first. Now we're going to go, I'm going to skip to the 5th. And it's called the dominant. You might question, why wouldn't you call the first one the dominant? Because it's the dominant, that's the one you play all the time. The reason the 5th is called the dominant is because the note in the middle that makes it a major chord is a half step away from the tonic. Let me explain that a little better. Here's your tonic, here's your dominant. Dominant is G. G, B. Well, B is the note that makes it a major chord. B is a half step away from C, the tonic. Wow. All right, if that's the dominant, and you have all heard, I know you've heard, dominant seventh. What does that mean? Well, we've already gone through that the chord has numbers. The chord goes through by, and I'm going to start one on the G now. 1, 3, 5. If we went up another one, it would be the seventh on F. That's a G seventh chord. Your major chords are called just by the letters themselves. Like G or G seventh would mean it's a G seventh chord. Minor is a different story, but I haven't got there yet. Okay, we've got the first, the tonic, and we've got the fifth, which is the dominant. Well, sub means below. Below, like submarine. It's below the marine, the water. What else is sub? Let's see, how about subdominant? It's below the dominant, so we call it subdominant. So you have the tonic, subdominant, and dominant in all keys. This is why these three chords fit together. In every key, there's these chords that always fit together. Now you're going to say, how about minor? Minor is the same way. Only in minor, you have to say it's minor. And tonic, subdominant, and dominant works the same way in minor, except we have to start in a different place. It's what we call the relative minor. Relative to the key of C is A minor. We're going to count that as the 1. B would be 2, C would be 3, this would be 4, and this would be 5. So this would be your tonic, A minor, D subdominant, E dominant. Now E, I didn't say minor, even though here it is minor. The dominant in a minor key is usually made major for the reason that the note in the middle, in this case, is going to be G sharp. It's G natural here. If we sharped it, it would make it a major chord, and that G sharp is a half step away from the tonic A. So your dominants are mostly, usually always, a major chord and a seventh on top of it. So now you have tonic, subdominant, and dominant in all keys. Okay, minor progression, A minor, D minor, E seventh, which is major. Again, subdominant, dominant seventh, tonic. In the major, it goes do C, subdominant, dominant, back to the tonic. This is why there's three chords that fit together all the time. This is why it works like this. This is how the chords work together. Now you know the difference between major and minor just by the major and minor third. You also know that there are only 4 chords, major, minor, diminished, and augmented. You also know that the order that they're in, you call them by tonic, subdominant, and dominant, and it's the same in all keys, whether major or minor. Now, next time, we're going to go back and look at the staff, because we've left off one thing. We're going to talk about rhythm. That is if we have the time. Little pun. It's called a time signature. And we'll do a few more things too. So, see ya.